introduce?
Yeah, introduce.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Njagi. I'm a researcher at Tegemeo Institute. We've been working on some work on land tenure issues for pastoralist societies. So as you all know, a large proportion of community land or land under collective access is found in areas that are characterized by low rainfall and high temperatures. As such, you'll find that the best economic activity that can take place there is livestock production. It therefore follows that majority of these lands are occupied by pastoral communities who have actually been using extensive livestock production systems to bring up livestock in these areas. These communities have used collective customary laws in managing this land. However, from the colonial period, the government has been promoting or encouraging communities to privatize land, mainly as in the hope that privatization of land will encourage investments in this land. It will commercialize these pastoralists to commercial livestock farmers, but these objectives by the government has not been met. Mainly is because communities have a different view of one of the things is that the nomadic pastoralism that they have practiced has been a way of mitigating some of the challenges that they face, including drought and disease. So as such, we've found an area where, even though there have been different projects that have been initiated by the government to kind of commercialize pastoralists, it has not happened. So we are currently in a state where communities have continued to use land under customary laws, even when they have been formalized. For example, where communities have been encouraged to form group ranches, they have not used the Group Representative Act to manage the land. They have continued to use the customary laws to manage the land. So recent research shows that maintaining community land and those access benefits community, especially given the environments such as the environments where our pastoral communities in Kenya are found. And we kind of did our research to try to collect evidence that can inform the debate, especially now that the country is debating the community land bill. And what we are finding is that community mechanisms can actually work if they are supported. And one of the ways to support community mechanisms is to ensure that they are able to enforce the land rights. And that is the customary laws rights that they have been using. One of the ways to do this is to ensure that the current law recognizes these customary lands and actually make sure that if somebody violates it, even if it's taken to a court of law, the court of law actually can recognize the customary lands that the community have been using and can use it to punish people who deviate from this. Another thing that the government can do, or in this case the county governments can do, is that there is need to bridge a gap, because most pastoralist communities lag behind in terms of social indicators. If you look at education, access to markets, they're actually disadvantaged. And we know this has not happened in recent times. It's something that has happened for a very long period. So the county governments have an opportunity to use the equalization fund to ensure that they provide these public goods. And most of these pastoralists are national, and they will respond by improving the value chains. It will create opportunities for incomes, which we believe pastoralists will be able to take up.
Yeah, in the proposed bill, what are some of the gaps that you guys have identified that needs to be addressed before this?
So, for example, one of the key gaps that is in the current community land bill is that the issue of trusteeship is still the way, more or less the way it was in the Group Representative Act and in the Trust Land Act. So where local governments held land in trust for the communities. And then this made it very easy for the government, whether local government or national government, to take away land from the community government, from the community. The communities were never consulted on projects that were being implemented in their land, but then the local government had that trusteeship that they could make decisions on the behalf of the community. So that one is still being maintained in the current bill, rather than addressing how communities can plan for this land, how we can make sure that county governments are able to adapt community plans in their planning systems, as we are talking about developing spatial plans for different counties and also for the national government. Also ensure that where we have community lands are also involved in developing their own spatial plans, which can actually be adapted and implemented by the communities. So those are some of the things that are missing, because you'll find that there's a big, as it is right now, still the county government will appropriate that land, even though it belongs to the community, without consulting the community.
So maybe what you're taking the government, because I know the bill has already done the first reading,
Yeah.
and I think the second.
The second reading. Yeah, the bill actually has gone in the second reading. Unfortunately, most people are yet to see that the bill that is currently being debated. But after in the first reading, before the first reading, the members of parliament went around collecting the views. One of the things that we currently need is for the House to kind of share whatever they are debating, for people to see whether their concerns were actually implemented in that bill. As it is, people are just speculating what is in that bill. We've had quite a number of versions of that bill. At some point, I think many people have lost track. I think the last one that was quite contentious was when it was included in the omnibus bill. So I think what the House needs to do is also be a bit transparent in terms of sharing this bill, letting other people see whether the concerns that were raised initially have been addressed. So as we move forward, again, where people have collected evidence, it's good to share this with the team that is debating this, for them to see and actually use this evidence to inform the decisions that they make at the House. Any other gap? The other gap, so I've mentioned the issue of trusteeship. There's also one of the things that we don't know how it has been captured in the bill, is that if you look at the history of, for example, group ranches, there is very well documentation of the challenges and the eventual collapse, and why, for example, in the old Maasai areas, where initially there was a huge number of registration of group ranches, we find that majority of them have now collapsed. The reasons why these group ranches collapse have not been addressed in the bill, and currently I think we are facing new challenges. So we are facing increased population, we are facing increase in urbanization. So there is need to kind of take a step and look back. What went wrong during the years in the 70s and the 80s, and kind of look at them in the new context. We are looking at where we have increased population, we have people who are not necessarily interested in pastoralism, but they are living in pastoralist land. How can they coexist? The most important issues that have not, it's kind of were there, but they're still there and have not been addressed, are issues to do with environmental management and human-wildlife conflict. As you know, that most of the pastoral areas, they coexist in places that are near to national parks, forests, or game reserves. So there is need not to just address them by law, but also learn lessons. What went wrong in the 70s and in the 80s, where we had less people. So if you are not addressing these things, if you are going to implement laws that are more or less similar to what we had then, in the current context, we expect that we have increased population, we have huge demand of land, and Kenyans right now have a huge appetite for private land. Then I think more things can only go wrong if you don't address these issues.
Thank you.
Sure.